So Caleb Wilson, UNC. There's a guy named Michael Jordan, UNC. Caleb Wilson, Bulls. MJ goes to the Bulls. Are there some shoes to fill with that?
I'm writing my own story, man. Honestly, I want to be better than Mike. Honestly, I know it's a lot to go, but I'm writing my own story.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about my favorite team in all of sports, the one, the only, the Chicago Bulls. We're going to talk about the exciting future that this Chicago Bulls team currently has, kind of what led to us getting to this moment here. For a long time now, the Bulls have been living in this world of kind of mediocrity, just scraping by. Barely, we've only had one playoff, run, and this was, 5 years ago now, 21-22 season. And even that, we couldn't really be excited about once we're in the actual playoffs because Lonzo Ball was injured. Zach LaVine was dealing with injuries. Our team was not the same as it was before when we're in the first seed, when Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic, we're all just gelling so well together, playing some of the best basketball that the Bulls have played since the Derrick Rose era. It came crashing down quicker than most of us would have wanted, and it was unfortunately something that we couldn't, we couldn't do anything about it. Since this playoff run that we had, it's been downhill since, we've had trades that don't make any sense. We can't get a first round pick if our life depended on it. Nothing has been working in our favor. We try to find things that'll fix and help us get into the play-in for the following season. Sure, that helps, to get into the play-in, which is not something we want to do. We want to go beyond that. We want to make a deep playoff run. That just wasn't the case. The front office, unfortunately, was not able to do their job successfully. I think this quote-unquote rebuild should have been done way before. Once you got rid of Zach LaVine, you should have gotten rid of Nikola Vucevic, just everyone, Alex Caruso. And I will say I do like the Alex Caruso trade in hindsight. I know many people are kind of split on that. Alex Caruso by himself wasn't going to get us, a lot. We could have gotten a first-round pick, I will say that. The value we're getting with Josh Giddey nowadays, I think it was worth it. Josh Giddey's only, 23 years old. He can still develop. Like I said, I like the trade. I think Josh Giddey is a very good player. I like the way he plays. I think the trade in itself was not bad. This past trade deadline, a couple months ago, back in February, the Bulls managed to get rid of a lot of players, which honestly, I was surprised because we've had many years in which the Bulls have said, oh, we're going to, tear this down. We're going to start, and trade players, and they make like one move. And that doesn't do anything for us. It's for us to be competitive still. And then what? We make the play-in, lose the first game, and then what? We don't get a super high draft pick either. We're kind of in the middle of the lottery. And so you could bank on one of those players to, flourish and be really great. But the chances are not always in our favor. And I think the Bulls honestly have not swung well with a lot of their picks. Like Noah Essingate, as much as I have hope for him, I still have many doubts with him, and I want to be proven wrong. Believe me, like I do. I hope Essingate is a standout talent. But yeah, in my opinion, I just don't. I'm not hyped about him, and that's just me personally. Like I said, I do hope he proves me wrong. I would say that the best picks that the Bulls made with the AK front office was Ayo Dosunmu and Matas Buzelis. So Ayo, obviously we know what he can contribute. He's that gritty player, the one that could kind of do everything out on the court, put all his effort, and obviously he's showing that now in Minnesota. And looking back even a few months ago, what it would have been like having this current roster that we have today, and then you add Ayo Dosunmu into that. I mean, that would have made a lot of sense, and I think that would have made sense with the development. They're all around the same age. Ayo's still young. So I think that would have been a nice piece. Obviously, that's not the case. He got his money in Minnesota, which, good for him. I'm glad he did. I'm glad he's able to play for, Minnesota, a team with Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball now, Rudy Gobert, a pretty solid team, you're not gonna lie. So I think the Bulls did a great job with that pick. And obviously Matas, we know who he is, what type of player he is, what he brings to the Bulls. He's obviously one of the biggest cornerstones for this project. I would say right now, Josh Giddey, Matas Buzelis, and obviously now Caleb Wilson are those three cornerstones for this team. I would say even more Matas and Caleb. Those two players I feel like should be who we're building around. Josh Giddey, obviously, I would like him to develop a little bit more defensively. But like I said, he's so young. He can still develop that. At least he can improve it. I'm not going to say he's going to be a stopper or anything like that. But I think he could definitely improve on that end. I could see he's improved even from the first time he got here to Chicago to the second season. Obviously, he's averaging, 17 points, damn near a triple-double. Having that on the team is super helpful. I just hope Josh Giddey, continues and stays consistent. And I know he dealt with some injuries this past season, so obviously a lot of that is not in their control. But hopefully, we have a pretty clean season in terms of injuries, and we can see a lot of these young guys they'll develop more, maybe a few all-star call-ups and stuff like that. Hopefully, a potential rookie of the year winner with Caleb Wilson, Matas Buzelis. I'm excited for his jump into the third season, so I think it's very exciting stuff. And yeah, I'm excited for what this Bulls team has to offer this upcoming season. Now, we also got Dalen Swain, who, we've seen in Summer League did not perform to what many of us wanted him to perform. And I think that's okay. Summer League, you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt, to be honest. And same goes for Caleb Wilson. As much hype as we all have for Caleb and his performances, obviously it's going to be different once he's playing, with the Chicago Bulls officially, and he's playing with more talent, more veterans and stuff like that. Both ends of the spectrum, you got to take with a grain of salt. Obviously, Caleb Wilson, performed out of this world, really. And then Dalen Swain obviously didn't perform to what many people wanted to see, but I think there's plenty of room for improvement. And like I said, it's only Summer League. Once the season starts, we'll see more development. Once he's with the vets like Norman Powell, we'll see more development from him as well. So I don't think it's too much to worry about at this moment. Like I said, I'm hoping for the best. And like I said, same with Noah Essenga. I hope I get proven wrong. Two of the offseason moves that I really liked, and I think a lot of Bulls fans liked as well, was the signing of Norman Powell for a 2-year deal, which I think is perfect. It's an easy contract to get, out of and trade if you wanted to come this trade deadline. If you wanted to do that, if you see, Norman Powell is really gelling well with this team and really helping the development of these players, I think that's someone you could keep even for the 2 years, and it wouldn't be a problem. He came off an all-star season with the Miami Heat, so I don't think it's an issue. I don't think he's gonna drop in level from this past season. And yeah, I think like I said, I think he's gonna help with spacing, with shooting, obviously, which is what the Bulls needed. And now with the development of these players, having a vet like Norman Powell who could bring, that all-star level play to this team, I think that's just gonna help in the long run. It's gonna help Dalen Swain. I feel like with his shooting, he's already good defensively, I would say. But, obviously having a sharpshooter like Norman Powell, that's going to help significantly. For a long time, I think the Bulls struggled in the center position the most. Obviously, no offense to Nikola Vucevic. Towards the end, I was ready for him to leave, and that's not, any malintent on my end. I just felt like it was time for both the Bulls and for Nikola Vucevic to have a change of scenery. I think it was just time. It ran its course. I think it ran its course longer than it should have, I think. But, I'm glad Vucevic is back with the Orlando Magic, so good for him. Our center position and what we're trying to build prior, it just didn't work out. We needed someone defensively, a defensive stopper. Someone like Nicholas Claxton, who would have been nice if we got him a few years back. But, still very happy that we got him in that, I think it's a 5-team trade now. But originally it was that 3-team trade with Brooklyn, Minnesota, and us, the Chicago Bulls. And basically we got him for free. We sent out a player, I forgot who it was, Mogwai maybe. That's, I think for the Bulls, it's no problem at all. Nicholas Claxton, like I said, had a few, down seasons with Brooklyn these past few years. But nothing where it's concerning. I think it's going to help him as well to have a change of scenery, a new team, a new opportunity. So I think Nicholas Claxton is going to help us defensively. He's a defensive stopper, He's also a lob threat. So we're definitely going to see, Josh Giddey lobbing up with Nick Claxton and also with Matas, of course, as we've seen, and Caleb Wilson. I think it's going to help Giddey as well. He's got more passing options, more space as well now that he has Norman Powell and stuff like that to find some good passes. So I'm very happy with what the front office did this offseason. Nothing like drastic, but just enough for us to finally step into the right direction. Now, will this team win us a championship? Probably not. We have to be realistic with these things. Will we be a playoff team? Also, probably not. Will we be a play-in team? Now, that's more debatable. But what makes this different being in a play-in this upcoming season compared to the past seasons is that the Bulls are obviously not in a win now mode. We're in a developmental mode. And so I think that if we are able to make the play-in with this current squad that we have, I think that's going to pass expectations. It's going to show that a lot of our players have developed, like Josh Giddey and Matas Buzelis, making those leaps. Caleb Wilson and Dalen Swain have made their rookie seasons good enough in which our team as a whole is able to make the play-in. If we make the play-in this season, it's going to fast-track our rebuild because we're going to have pieces in which we can already, see all-star potential with, just kind of build around that. Like I said, Josh Giddey, Matas, and Caleb are those three pieces right now. So as long as we see jumps from those three, which we already have, from Josh and Matas, I think if we see it from all three, we're going to be cooking with some fire there. So it's very exciting times. Us as Bulls fans, we see what we have and we try to shoot for the moon and stuff like that. But I think we gotta be realistic with where we are, and just because we add the acquisitions of Norman Powell and Nick Claxton, I don't think we should get our hype, our hopes up all the way, and and let these kids, let these young players play, let them develop. Obviously we got the new coach Thiago Splitter, who I'm glad we got him. He was my number one pick, honestly. I think Thiago Splitter is the perfect coach. We all saw what he did with the Portland Trailblazers this past season, made him I believe the 7th seed. Say what you want, he did that. He developed Denny Advia. He helped a lot of the young players in Portland, and now he's taking that developmental skills and defensive-minded coaching with the Chicago Bulls. I think it's gonna work out well. I think Thiago has a lot of respect for these young players. I think he's excited to play and coach with these players such as Matas, Josh Giddey, obviously now Caleb Wilson, Dalen Swain, Noah Essengay. So I'm excited to see what he does, and same with him. With Thiago, I think we need to give them time to get adjusted. I think a lot of people, once they see one bad thing, they like to, just really zone in on it and attack and say, well, they didn't do this right. Well, we can't, we're not going to be able to develop because this and this. No, there's going to be mistakes. It's a lot of new pieces coming into this team, and we can't, obviously if we're annoyed with something, that's totally fine. But we also have to understand that things are changing. We're not in a point where we're going to win a lot of games, and that's okay. But as long as our players are able to develop, then that's the most important part. If we go on a streak of wins and then go on a losing streak, that's gonna be fine. Like I said, we're not in a position to be winning games anyways. I think we have to stay realistic. We have to stay grounded and know what we have. As long as the players develop, then that's the most important part right now. That's all I'm gonna focus on. As long as I see that connection between Thiago Splitter and the players, then what's the problem? I also want to touch on the front office a little bit. Obviously, we had Arturas Carcinovas before we got, Bryson Graham. Arturas was a person who I think lacked communication skills, at least in the aspect of being clear with the fans. Whenever you would see, media and press asking him questions, he would just kind of give us vague sort of answers, or he wasn't very confident in what he wanted to say. He obviously never said rebuild, even though that's something that we should have done, or tanking. Sometimes you got to be honest with yourself. You got to be honest with the people. You got to know when enough is enough. I just read that, the Bulls were, hoping on the development of Patrick Williams for much longer than a lot of Bulls fans were. And I get it, you know, it's a top 4 pick. You obviously want him to be the next quote unquote Kawhi. But I just think we should have, you know, never extended him. Like, that's such a dumb contract. I'm sorry. It's a contract that obviously no one's going to want to trade for. So obviously he's going to be on the team for a while. I think I think he did have the best intentions, but I also think he kind of got in a mindset of trying to recapture what we had in the 21-22 season, which obviously, you know, exceeded all of our expectations. I mean, let's be honest, none of us expected us to be the 1 seed for that period of time. Once AK got a taste of that, he wanted to kind of capture it again and, you know, try to be competitive. That was another thing that we kept hearing. We want to be competitive. We want to be competitive. Sometimes being competitive is more damaging than actually analyzing what you have, realizing that this is not going to work, and trying something completely new. I have a lot of respect for Zach LaVine, lots of respect for DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan was, to me, the closest thing we've had since Jimmy Butler in terms of hope for the team. DeMar DeRozan was the one player in which I had no complaints with. You know, I know he gave it his all for Chicago, and I know Chicago loved him as well. Yeah, I think that was something that kind of was the downfall of this front office. Obviously, here we are, 2026. Bryson Graham leading the charge in the front office for the Chicago Bulls, and honestly, I'm very excited. He seems like he's very clear, very honest with the media, with all the people. He tells it how it is. He's not going to BS you. You know, not everything that we hear is going to be music to our ears. Some things are not going to be what we want to hear, and that's okay. That's part of the rebuild. You know, there's growing pains. There's things that, you know, are going to suck for a little bit, and that's okay. We just, as Bulls fans, have to realize in the position that we are. We have a new coach, new front office, new players, you know, like, things are going to be uncomfortable, and that's okay as long as we develop. That's the most important part. But yeah, I just wanted to make a quick video about the Chicago Bulls. I am very excited. You know, Caleb Wilson, what I saw from Summer League, he's going to be a dog. You know, he's going to be one of the brightest rookies for sure. Hopefully Rookie of the Year. That's what I'm hoping for, and it's something that I think is very achievable. We have to be realistic as a whole, and not expect us to be a playoff team. But still, you can still be excited. You can still, you know, exceed expectations and be happy, and that's okay, because that's what I am. I'm happy with what we have. I'm excited with the vets. I'm excited with the signing of Nick Claxton, you know, or the trade of Nick Claxton. The rookies I'm excited for. Noah Essengate, like I said, I'm so excited for him. I'm so excited to see what he brings. People that we've had before, like Jalen Smith, Trey Jones, Rob Dillingham. These are things to be excited about. Let's be realistic, but let's support. Let's be some good fans this season, you know. Let's support. I just want to make this real quick, but I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you can like, comment, subscribe, of course, and we've got, you know, some good videos coming up, an exciting interview coming up. I won't say too much, but I think you guys will enjoy it. But yeah, peace.